Have you ever wondered what you'd do if your heart suddenly started racing, your chest tightened, and you were completely alone? No phone nearby, no one around. Just you, your breath, and a storm erupting inside your body. If you're over 60, this isn't just a frightening thought. It's a reality that could happen when you least expect it. But here's the good news. Knowing just a few simple actions, 7 to be exact, can mean the difference between surviving a heart attack or not. This isn't about fear, it's about being ready. Now imagine this. You're sitting in your favorite chair, maybe reading, maybe watching TV. You feel a strange pressure in your chest. It's not quite pain, but it's heavy. Then your left arm tingles, sweat forms on your forehead. You try to brush it off, maybe it's nothing, but deep down you know something's not right. And that hesitation, that delay, it's what kills most people. Because they wait, they second guess, and by the time help arrives, it's too late. So let's change that right now. Tip number 1 is something many people get wrong. Chew, not swallow, an aspirin. If you suspect a heart attack and you're not allergic to aspirin, chew a regular strength aspirin immediately. Not a coated one, not a gummy one, just plain aspirin. Chewing it allows it to enter your bloodstream faster. It works by thinning your blood, slowing down clot formation, which is often what's blocking your heart in the first place. Do this the moment you feel that chest pressure, not after you've called someone. Not after you've thought about it for 5 minutes. Chew it immediately. But what if you don't have aspirin nearby? That brings us to tip number 2. Always carry a heart attack kit. I know, it sounds dramatic, but it's no different than carrying reading glasses or a walking stick. Your kit should have at least one uncoated aspirin, a list of emergency contacts, and a small note card with your medical history. Keep it in your pocket, purse, or right next to your TV remote, wherever you spend most of your time. Because the truth is, when it hits, you won't have time to rummage through drawers. Tip number 3. Recognize the silent signs. Everyone expects heart attacks to look like in the movies. Crushing chest pain, dramatic collapse, screaming for help. But especially in seniors, heart attacks can show up quietly. Fatigue that hits like a wall, sudden nausea, dizziness, jaw or neck pain, even shortness of breath without chest pain. Women especially tend to get these quieter symptoms. So if you feel something out of the ordinary, like your body is trying to tell you something, don't ignore it. Listen, because your heart doesn't lie. It whispers before it screams. Now, if you're alone and you start noticing those signs, your first instinct might be to lie down and rest. But that's not always the right move. Which brings us to tip number 4. Stay upright and calm. Sitting upright helps your heart reduce strain. Lying flat can actually make things worse, especially if fluid starts to build in your lungs. Find a chair or the edge of a bed, sit upright, and try to stay calm. I know that's easier said than done, but panicking increases your heart rate, and right now, you need to slow everything down. Let's say you've taken the aspirin, you're upright, you feel the symptoms getting stronger. Now what? Tip number 5. Call emergency services, even if you're unsure. Do not try to drive yourself. Do not wait to see if it passes. The people who survive heart attacks are the ones who act fast. You have a 10-minute window where action is everything. Even if you live alone, you must plan ahead for this step. Keep your phone nearby. Program emergency contacts. Use a medical alert button if you have one. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. And if you truly don't have a phone within reach, or can't get to it, this next tip might just save your life. Tip number 6. Force a cough. gently and rhythmically. Now, this is controversial and not meant to replace calling for help. But if you feel faint, if your heart rhythm starts to feel off, repeated gentle coughing may stimulate blood flow enough to buy you a little more time. Think of it like jump-starting a stalled engine. Take a deep breath, then cough hard. Deep breath, then cough again. It's not a cure, but it might help keep you conscious just long enough. Now, before we get to the final and most surprising tip, let's talk about what happens in the minutes after you've done all this. You've taken the aspirin. You're sitting upright. Help is on the way, or at least you've made every attempt to reach it. Here's where tip number 7 becomes the game changer. Focus on your breath. Slow it. Control it. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Short, shallow breathing makes your heart work harder. Long, deep breaths conserve energy. If your mind starts to spiral, bring it back to your breath. You're still here. You're still fighting. You're buying time for help to reach you. What's wild is how something as basic as breathing can shift your body out of panic. Seniors who've practiced breathing techniques regularly, not just in emergencies, tend to survive better. Their bodies are used to stress, their minds more grounded. That's why doctors suggest mindfulness not as a trend, but as a tool, a way to stay alive. But let's be honest, even with these 7 tips, none of this matters if you never think about it again after this video ends. So I'm going to give you one bonus tip, just one. Practice. Once a month, sit down and walk through this plan. Chew a fake aspirin. Sit upright. Breathe. Pretend you're calling for help. Because in the real moment, your body won't want to think. It'll want to survive. And the best way to survive is to already know what to do. Let's be real. Getting older comes with enough surprises. Your heart failing you shouldn't be one of them. Now let's take this even deeper. You've made it through the first critical steps, but surviving a heart attack alone isn't just about what happens in those terrifying first minutes. It's also about what you do every day before that moment ever arrives. Because the truth is, the most powerful way to survive a heart attack is to not have one in the first place. So let's rewind time a bit. Tip number 8 is to know your personal warning signs. Not everyone's heart attack looks the same. If you've ever felt chest tightness while climbing stairs, sudden shortness of breath, or a flutter in your chest that makes you stop walking for a second, write it down. Keep a journal. You don't need to write a novel, just a few words when something feels off. That way, when you look back and notice a pattern, 3 dizzy spells in 1 week, or repeated nausea without cause, you can act before it turns into something worse. Tip number 9 is about preparing your environment. When you live alone, your home can either help you or hurt you. Let's make it help. First, keep your phone charged and within arm's reach in every major room. Have a landline or an emergency button, especially if your cell reception isn't great. Place small sticky notes near your bed, your TV, your kitchen that remind you, take aspirin, sit upright, call for help. Because in the panic of pain, you won't remember. But a single note can trigger a life-saving action. Now for something that sounds small, but matters more than you'd think. Tip 10. Wear clothing you can easily move in. Tight waistbands, hard shoes, or layers that restrict your chest can make it harder to breathe or move quickly if you're in distress. If you're relaxing at home, make sure what you're wearing doesn't restrict you in an emergency. It's the kind of thing no one ever tells you, but it matters when seconds count. Let's not forget the most emotional part of this. Loneliness. That's tip 11. Stay connected, even if it's just with one person. Isolation doesn't just affect your mental health. It increases your physical risk, especially with heart issues. Why? Because people who live alone tend to delay calling for help. They don't want to cause a fuss. They wait for the pain to pass. But someone who knows you well, who checks in, even once a day, can be the voice that says, "Call now." They can talk you through it. Be your backup brain when yours is flooded with fear. And that leads us into tip 12, which might be the most uncomfortable for some. Share your plan. Tell your neighbor. Tell your adult children. Tell your mail carrier if you trust them. Say, "If I ever call you and say I don't feel right, I might be having a heart attack. Here's where my aspirin is. Here's my doctor. Here's how to get in." It might feel awkward at first, but what you're really doing is giving yourself an extra net. And nets save lives. Now, let's talk about recovery, because surviving isn't just about the moment. Tip 13 is about what to do after a heart scare. Even if it wasn't a full-blown heart attack, if you had warning symptoms and got checked, don't treat it like a false alarm. Follow up. Demand a full cardiac evaluation. Get blood work. Insist on clarity. So many seniors get told, "Oh, it's just stress." But stress doesn't cause your left arm to go numb or your chest to tighten at night. If it feels wrong, it is wrong. And you deserve answers. Tip 14 is one I wish more doctors said out loud. Learn the difference between anxiety and heart trouble. Yes, panic attacks can mimic heart attacks. But guess what? Panic doesn't usually come with exertion. Heart attacks do. If you feel symptoms climbing stairs or after a heavy meal, that's your heart talking. Anxiety tends to show up even when you're sitting still. But don't try to self-diagnose. Get both checked, because assuming it's just nerves can cost you your life. Let's bring it home now with one last, powerful idea. Tip 15. Give your heart a reason to keep beating. Sounds cheesy, right? But there's science behind it. People with purpose, people who feel they're needed, who still find joy, even small joys, tend to live longer and survive medical crises better. So paint, dance in your kitchen, volunteer, tell your story. Even watching the birds out the window each morning counts. If your heart has something to fight for, it'll fight harder when the time comes. So here's the final truth. You don't need to be a doctor to save your own life. You don't need fancy equipment. Just awareness. Just a plan. Just a willingness to act. Even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared. Because no one else can play your part in this life. And the world still needs you in it. If you've made it this far, you've already taken the most important step. You're thinking ahead. That puts you miles ahead of most people. And if you found this helpful or know someone who might need it, do something brave, share it, and subscribe for more real talk like this. We're not here to sugarcoat aging. We're here to own it.